again, Josh Cassidy coming to you here for another video. And today is my Star Wars review. And so I'll be talking about the entire franchise, 4, 5, and 6, 1, 2, and 3, 7, 8, and then the TV shows. Alright. So, I'm going to tell you guys that I've never read the books. Well, except for the Disney Aftermath books. I've read those, and I know those a lot. There's both canon and Legends now because of Disney, and but they have brought back several characters from the Legends, like Thrawn. And Thrawn is an awesome character. But I just want to say that I've never read the books, but I watch a lot of Star Wars YouTube, and I know a lot about stuff that are in the comic books, or the books, whatever you want to call them. So, 4, 5, and 6. Blu-ray and DVD in this one case, 4, 5, and 6. New episode 4 is The New Hope, and basically it really marks the beginning of Star Wars itself. It came out in 1977, and I've seen everything about Star Wars. I mean, The New Hope was I don't know, basically when Star Wars came out, it changed movies. I mean, people love Star Wars. I mean, you got a lot of people, you might not think this, but so many people love Star Wars. And that's a lot of things. Like, a lot of people don't understand Star Wars, and a lot of people do. And especially with The Last Jedi, a lot of people don't understand it, and then they don't understand, and they go overboard on information and the flaws, which is the frustrating part, is because, but start with The New Hope, episode 4. You have the Death Star, that was awesome. You got Leia, Luke, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Han Solo. I mean, you got all the characters, the famous characters right there, and it's so awesome. I mean, like, it really is good. I mean, I like all the Star Wars movies equally. I don't really have opinion which one's better. That's why in my favorite movies, I can't pick it's not a Star Wars movie, because I don't have a favorite Star Wars movie. I love them all. And that's why I can pick between Marvel as my favorite movie, because I don't like all the Marvel movies equally. I just, like I said, I like the Avengers. That's my favorite movie. And then Star Wars is my favorite franchise. Marvel falling in a close second. But that's why it's hard for me to explain each movie individually, because I like them all, so it's hard to exactly explain myself how I like them individually, because I like them all. And I think the story of Star Wars is fun. It's a mixture of science fiction and fantasy. I think that what makes Star Wars better than other sci-fi stuff, because sci-fi and fantasy, I think sci-fi is all just, shooting and all that, like the science. But when you add fantasy to it, you actually add characteristics to it. You make it like something more than just spaceships in space. That it's more than that. That's what Star Wars is, and I think that's why people love it, because it's not the same. That's why Star Wars itself has it changed the movie industry. when it first came out, and so many people like Star Wars. So many. It is very awesome. Each movie is great, and it's hard to pick. Empire Strikes Back, by far, out of anyone, will say it is the best, except for the Leia and Luke kissing, brother and sister. That's just disgusting. Brother and sister kissing. Of course, they don't know that they're brother and sister at this time, so I guess in that way it's not exactly wrong. Well, I mean, it is, but I mean, if you don't know it, I mean, that your brother and sister, what can you really do? I mean, like, if you don't have that information, you're gonna and love each other. You can't help that. But really, Leia fell in love with Han Solo, and we know that. Of course, Han Solo, played by the one and only Harrison Ford, who's a really good actor. I wish he loved playing Han Solo. I think Han Solo is so awesome. The problem with Star Wars is the lines that a lot of actors did not like, and I don't know what I would say to that. If I get the chance to be in a Star Wars movie, I would take it. I don't care if the lines are bad. I mean, I would take the chance to act in a Star Wars movie. I mean, hopefully, if I ever do get a chance, it's a main character, because I really love Star Wars. And, I don't know, it is definitely characteristics of myself. Like, you can't be me. Well, no one can be me, but, like, part of Star Wars is one part of me. That is just have been part of my life. And, yeah, Star Wars, I don't know where I would be without Star Wars. Like, my life would not be complete without Star Wars. I'm not joking. Like, I don't know how I don't know how Star Wars exists, and that I appreciate. And, yeah. But so basically, that's understandable, and episode 6 completes that trilogy, and of course, Death Star 2 is just why. I mean, okay, cool rebuilding this spaceship, but I mean, it was incomplete. Like, Death Star 1 is more cool than Death Star 2. I'm just saying. By far. And you don't need 2 Death Stars. But I think that is the interesting part. And at the end, Luke, Luke saves, well, not really. Like, Darth Vader saves Luke. See, I don't even get... the point of that ending was, like, Luke was trying to save his dad, but then end up at the end that his dad was saved him. That's the funny part. That's irony for you. But Luke was right that Darth Vader had light in him. And I really think that because from the prequel standpoint, we know that Anakin becomes Darth Vader. He was a little boy found by Qui-Gon Jinn, and he eventually, basically, that's his story kind of leads to what happened, why Darth Vader who he is. But I'll really explain that later. I think Luke is my favorite Star Wars character. And I think you'll probably say, hey, that's just bias. Everyone likes Luke. Well, that's not entirely true, but everyone looks up to Luke. I mean, he's a Jedi. and he really doesn't become Jedi till the end, but yes, his character is cool, and what they did to Luke in The Last Jedi was just wrong. I don't, but that's besides the point. Emperor Palpatine, oh man, was he cool. Like, I know if anyone is a villain, Emperor Palpatine is that villain. Darth Vader is a villain, and he's cool, and he's awesome, and by far is the face of the franchise. I mean, Luke and Darth Vader are the faces of the franchise. But Darth Vader isn't technically the villain. I mean, he's the villain of the story, but behind him, Emperor is the real, like, villain. Like, I mean, yeah, he didn't have any action. You really don't see him until, like, the last one. But basically, Emperor Palpatine is the one pulling the strings. And he is evil. Like, he is the very definition of evil. And his powers are, like, really strong, like, but, yeah, Darth Vader was able to, kill him. And that's really because, Emperor Palpatine was blind to the fact that Darth Vader has light in him. And, that Luke saw that because they're, a family connection versus a master and a apprentice, or a master and a Padawan, depending Jedi or Sith, is different. And the connection between a family is stronger than anything. Like, basically, like, for instance, I feel like love is stronger than hate. Love is stronger than hate, but hate in Star Wars, basically love is stronger than hate, but yet love can lead to hate or to the Sith. That's the weird part about that, because love in any case is the strongest weapon you can have, and it could also lead to the to evil as well, because love conquers all, but yet if someone doesn't love you back and then breaks your heart, that love can backfire and therefore lead you down to a dark path. That's why there's only one type of love that actually is the most powerful and cannot be broken. But that's really my belief, and I'm not going to explain about my belief. That's not what I want to do here. So let's get really back to Star Wars here. Han Solo, he's a hotshot. Pretty much, originally, all he cares about is money. But his story is that he goes from a person who all he cares about himself and Chewbacca and money. That's all he cares about. But he let Leia into his heart. He let Luke, and his story is that becoming from a money lover, all you care about hotshot, to a person who cares about others. And you can really tell that from in The Force Awakens that, yeah, he went back to money, but yet you could tell that he's not the same Han Solo that he was in The New Hope. And that's his story. And then Luke's story is becoming from a person who has pretty much nothing to someone who is everything. And he's a hero. He becomes someone who's a nothing to a hero. That's what Luke is. Luke is, and that's what heroes are supposed to be. Heroes are not, they're not just there. So heroes are there putting their life for others, like, more than yourself. Like, a hero dying for others, or a person dying for others, or sacrificing themselves for other people, is what a hero is. heroes aren't there for themselves, they're there for other people. And truly, when someone dies for someone else, that's a true hero. That's when you really are a hero. That, yes, it's sad. Yes, that person has died, but he died for by saving other people, and that is what makes him a hero. He's there to show to us that we as people need to help others, put ourselves for other people more than ourselves, and that's the problem in our today's world, especially the government. People in the government right now are about themselves and not others. That's the problem with this country right now. And I know that you guys might think that we shouldn't have religious people in the government because they might put the religious over the government and make people believe in that. But that's not what religious people are actually supposed to do. What they're actually supposed to do is just tell about the religion and let you guys decide whether or not you want to believe or not. But the real reason why I think religious people should be in the government is because we believe that what is bad and what is good, but we also, one of our beliefs is that we need to care and respect about other people. But that's the people you probably need the most, or at least people who have views for other people. Because Christians or people in their beliefs, it says that they need to love and respect others. And basically, if Christians have that understanding or that belief, then that belief alone, just believing that we need to help others, is the belief that we need in our government. The government to help others. That's what we need in our government. Because people in our government is not like that. But that's really my opinion. And I'm not here to talk about politics. But yeah, that's Luke's story. Obi-Wan's story was, well, mostly his story is in the prequels. But in The New Hope, what his story is someone who's supposed to guide someone to the path that needs to be set on. And yeah, he basically died. Well, he wanted to die at the end, but the reason why he did that is in itself is a hero himself. He did that because it is not his destiny to stop Darth Vader, and he knew that that wasn't destiny. He knew that that was Luke's destiny, or more importantly, Luke's destiny to show his father that there's still light in him. That is Luke's destiny, and Obi-Wan Kenobi knew that. And so his path was to put Luke on that path to his destiny. And once Obi-Wan Kenobi already did that. His goal, his destiny was set, and therefore he can go into the Force. That's why Darth Vader didn't kill him. Obi-Wan Kenobi disappeared into that because that was his destiny, just to put Luke on his path. Once his destiny was complete, he didn't need to stay on this planet, or the plane of existence. And so he faded into the Force, the cosmic Force. That's basically what the whole point of Jedi are. They have a destiny, and once the destiny is complete, they will fade into the Force. Because they don't need to be there anymore. So, now Darth Vader. he's the chosen one from Anakin to Darth Vader. His destiny was to balance the Force. Now, the balance of the Force isn't equal Jedi and equal Sith, light to the dark. What really the balance is that, see, Sith use the Force for themselves, and that's what makes the unbalance. So it's basically the balance is the absence of the Sith. Because the Sith use the Force for themselves, and that's what puts it off balance. And then the Jedi's point is are there to balance the Force, to defeat the Sith. But the problem was in the prequel, or the Jedi, that they've been without their enemy, the Sith. That's what the Jedi are for, to defeat the Sith. But since the Sith are defeated, the Jedi are misplaced, and so they stopped supporting the Force and then the Senate, and therefore their goals, their force is to the Senate and not the Force itself, and therefore they're imbalancing the Force. That's why Anakin turned to the dark side to kill the Jedi, because the Jedi are now unbalancing the Force, and therefore Anakin has to join the Sith in order to kill them. Because his destiny is to balance the Force, and then at the end, Luke's destiny is to show Darth Vader, Anakin turning to Darth Vader, back to the light side in order to destroy the Sith. So, Darth Vader saw his son being killed by the Emperor. And so in order to save him, Darth Vader turned back to the light, took Emperor Palpatine and threw him down a shaft in the Death Star, killing the Sith because he went from dark to light, and then he killed Emperor Palpatine, destroying the Sith and balancing the Force. That was Anakin's destiny, and he did it. He balanced it by becoming a Sith in order to destroy the Jedi, to balance it, and then kill Emperor, then turn back to the light side, killing his side of the Sith, and then killing Emperor Palpatine, the last Sith. That was his destiny. Emperor Palpatine's destiny, really, was to, first, help make the Chosen One. Because technically, Anakin was created by the Force through the manipulation of Darth Sidious and his master, Darth Plagueis. They manipulated the Force to create life. And that's how Anakin was born. That's how Shmi Skywalker was pregnant with Anakin, because there was no father. Because the Force created Anakin. And that is why. So Anakin is basically the creation of the Force. So their destiny was to create Anakin by manipulating the Force. And then it was Emperor Palpatine's destiny to turn Anakin to the dark side in order for Anakin to destroy the Jedi. But once he did that, his destiny was to be killed by Darth Vader, with the help of Luke showing Darth Vader that he had the light side in. And the reason why Darth Vader still had the light side is not just because he was the chosen one. It's because he specifically was never really part of the Sith. Okay, he joined the Sith because he felt guilty for killing Mace Windu, so he felt like he was part of killing Mace Windu, and he wanted to save his wife, which ends up not killing her, kind of, which I'll explain later. That in itself, but basically that's Emperor Palpatine. That's his destiny to Star Wars itself. Star Wars is basically the light versus the dark. Good versus bad. That's what Star Wars is. Because really, yes, not everything has to do with the Force, but yet there is still bad versus good. Rebels versus the Empire. Rebels the good, and the Empire evil. Even though that Rogue One showed the Rebels are not as good as they show they have, but yet it's even with them being a little bit more dark than it is still good versus bad. And that's the understanding of Star Wars. That's what is so interesting to me. And myself is when I built my own character for Star Wars. My own stories, even though they're probably never going to become real. But I envisioned my own story into Star Wars. And my character was always part of the light side, a Jedi. And that is basically all my characters because I'm part of the light side. I am not the dark side, I am the light side. That has always been me. That's always been me. That is what describes me. That's why I feel close to. That's why Luke is my favorite character, because in itself, that's what I base my character around. I'm part of the light. And that's basically what my superhero characters are. They're always designed to be light. That's been me, and so that's why I'm saying that Star Wars is kind of part of me, because it shows kind of where one of my characteristics comes from. Even though really originally my light comes originally with my beliefs, but like I said, Star Wars in itself is it is made of multiple religions actually, but one characteristic of light versus dark is actually part of is in my beliefs as well, because that's where George Lucas took that from. Actually, matter of fact, from the Christian belief, but that's probably understandable. And 4 through 5. Now, really, the prequels. A lot of people dislike the prequels, yet they're not bad. Like, I don't get why people find the prequels so bad. Yes, they don't like Anakin's a whiner. Yes, the how do I describe this? The lines may not be all that good, but I don't personally have a problem with them. Yeah, you might not like Jar Jar Binks. Actually, I have no problem with Jar Jar Binks. In fact, just complain that he is a dumb, foolish character and he plays dumb. I mean, there are many characters out there that are dumb and have idiot brains and they're just doing weird things, but yet no one hates them. So why hate Jar Jar Binks? I think personally, people aren't hating Jar Jar Binks because of that. People are saying that's why they hate it, But there's no way that could possibly be when there's other characters exactly like Jar Jar Binks that no one hates. So, I don't understand why people have to hate Jar Jar Binks. To me, Jar Jar Binks is not. I personally do not have a problem with Jar Jar Binks. In fact, I wish they completed more of his story instead of dumbing him down, like getting him out of the story. But that's just me personally, and it's so crazy how Anakin as a boy from the Phantom Menace, like if you look at him, how does he become Darth Vader? Like you're like, if I did not watch like any of the other movies and I'm watching the Phantom Menace, and then you tell me that guy becomes a killer, a murderous wretch, I would say, what? How? I mean, like, that's how I really like feel about it. I mean, I know it happened, but it feels so weird looking at that kid and how he acts to becoming this. Anakin describes that light in instance because he wanted to become. So he wanted to save his people on Tatooine. Of course, he never did, but like his heart had so much light in it, yet it also had so much love in it, and that also what led him to the dark side ultimately. But like, I was just say, like I'm like saying, like pondering how this guy becomes to the dark side a murderous wretch without watching the other movies is impossible. To ever see Anakin, that little boy, becoming something like that is definitely beyond me. I mean, but yet love, that's what happens when love in this world cut by hate, and that then leads them to the dark path. Anakin becomes the dark because he loved his mom, and then his mom gets killed by sand people, as they're called. And they're actually called Tuskens, but a lot of times they're called sand people. If you want to call that a racist thing in Star Wars, that's up to you. I mean, I don't really care. I don't really care. That's what they were called, sand people. And but love can, in this world, can turn to hate when one part of that love gets cut into by hate. The Tuskens killed Anakin's mom, and so he killed the Tuskens. The Tusken Raiders. So, and that's the first part of the dark side showing. And the fact that Emperor Palpatine kind of just manipulated him. It was so, you could so tell that he was manipulating it. And, the clone, like, the thing with the Jedi is that like I said, all they cared about was helping the Senate. And that was their downfall. That is the reason why that Anakin needed to become part of the dark side, to fulfill his destiny as the chosen one, because he needed to become the dark in order to balance the Force, because the Jedi were imbalancing it, and they were supposed to balance it. That was their thing. But then, when the Sith are gone, they had nothing to do. They had no job. They have nothing. And therefore, they were lost. And that's why the Force, when they started rejecting, like, the Force and not, going by the Force, they started going by the Senate. And that's why they got lost in the Force, because the Force had the problem with them doing that, and therefore the Force gave up on them. and so the Force started to go away. That's why the Jedi couldn't see the Sith returning, because the Force was going away from them. You need the Force to know where the Sith are, and since they were rejecting the Force rejected them, and therefore they didn't have the Force enough to tell that the Sith, have returned. That was their problem, and that's why the Sith were able to return and completely devastate them, because they didn't see it coming. Even though that in the Clone Wars, clearly that one clone told them about it. If only they believed him. Only if they believed him, the entire thing could have been avoided. But that was a different story. Because it couldn't have been avoided. They couldn't. They knew about the chips, and yes, they kind of did know that that one clone trooper betrayed them, and that was the Clone Wars. I feel like they didn't even need to listen. They already had the information. Every person had that chip, and they could tell that. But I'll get to that later. Alright, I'll get to that part. Really, now we're talking about the prequels here. But that the understanding is that the Jedi were lost, and they started helping the Senate, and that wasn't their thing. That wasn't what they were supposed to be doing, yet they were doing it. And that's why. And then eventually they became fighters. The Jedi are supposed to keep the peace, yet they became generals in a war. That's not keeping peace. That's just the opposite of peace. War is the opposite of peace, and yet they're helping in the war. Yes, basically by defeating the other group, you're essentially making peace. But the fact is that peace in its own is supposed to be before the war, not because of the war. That's another problem in today's society, is that we only get peace because we fought the war. We fought the war in order to create peace, yet peace is supposed to be before that. Peace is the absence of war. That's the problem in our society, is that we, instead of solving it peacefully, we go to war to create peace. And therefore, people die. People die in order to create peace. Yet, why? We have the decency to create peace before death. If we, as human beings, we should be smart enough to not have war. We should have been smart enough not to hurt people, not to kill people, yet we do it. Yet we have war in order to create peace. Why? Why? That's the key, is why. That's why I hate war, because we're smart enough to not have war, yet we do it anyway. We do it anyway. But that is one of the problems in our today's. But whatever. That is basically Star Wars, really. But yeah, like I said, Jedi become part of the war. The clone troopers, it really just goes all downhill. Even some Jedi even knew that was wrong, that they shouldn't be doing that. And then that basically part made them lost and join the dark side. And a lot of Jedis lost their life because of this war. Of course, like droids, yes, it didn't have a lot of killing droids, yeah. This is clone troopers versus droids. Of course, the other side is not going to really have casualties because there is no life on the other side because it's all droids. But there is life on the Jedi side. The clones. Yes, that's what they were made to do. Yet, why were they made to do that? There's no reason why they should be made to do that. Yet they were made to do that, and they put their lives on that, and then they die because of something that never needed to happen, yet it did. That's the problem. That's why a lot of Jedi become lost, because they were helping something they knew that was wrong. They knew that it shouldn't be happening, yet they were lost and therefore couldn't see their downfall. They couldn't see that was their downfall. I mean, that's why we have that problem. And in fact, what's even more funny is that we have one person in charge of both sides, controlling them. Because in the Senate, Emperor will eventually become Emperor Palpatine, but Darth Sidious / Emperor Palpatine was in lead of the Senate. He was in the lead of the Senate, and he helped create the stormtroopers. The clone troopers. Alright? But, so he was going by as Palpatine, but as Darth Sidious, he was controlling Count Dooku, and Count Dooku was the leader of the Separatist army. He was, therefore, Emperor Palpatine, Darth Sidious or Palpatine at this time was controlling both sides of the war. And that's what he wanted. He wanted the Jedi to become war fighters because he knew that would be one of their downfalls. Especially eventually when he puts his Order 66, where the clone troopers will turn on them and kill all the Jedi. Or most of them anyway. Of course, there's a theory that Obi-Wan Kenobi is the high ground. That's funny, because, see, Jedi can survive when they're on the high ground, but in plain field they die. That's the funny. And actually, that theory is most likely true based on the facts. You guys should look up a YouTuber. He talked about. You should look up a YouTube video. I don't know which one, but there was a guy in the comment section where he pasted something into the comment saying that basically the whole theory about how Obi-Wan Kenobi is the high ground. Now we'll talk about the high ground. But now originally, since I was going to keep Star Wars Rebels and Clone Wars, Star Wars The Clone Wars, because the TV shows afterwards, except for the fact that Clone Wars falls between episode 2 and 3, it's kind of hard not to talk about it. Definitely the Clone Wars is better than Star Wars Rebels. Battling wise, animation wise, it was awesome. And I think for a lot of people who hated the prequels, I think it saved the prequels for them. And I think it did. It helped a lot. Of course, I feel like there was one problem with the Clone Wars that messed up with the movies, but because it's been a long time since I've seen the full Clone Wars, but I really feel like in the Clone Wars, I think there was a time where General Grievous and Anakin met, but that's so weird because in episode 3 they acted like they never met, or they just heard of each other. So I don't know, because I hope I'm wrong about that, because if they met in the Clone Wars, then something's wrong. But I could be very wrong and they never actually met, they just heard of each other. But who knows? Yeah. So Clone Wars was going to have more seasons, yet when Disney took it over, they had to end at the 6th season, so because they had to rush it. But the reason why Disney wanted to stop it was first because they knew that people didn't like the prequels, and second, it wasn't really kid friendly. Even though I very much disagree with that, because a lot of kids watch, a lot of young kids watch that more inappropriate, high rated stuff than that. So, not that I think it's right, not that, and I think Disney is right about that, but the Clone Wars was definitely for kids. I don't care what people say. I personally feel like that Star Wars Rebels was way, way, way too kid friendly. In fact, it was so much that kind of hindered it or made it bad. That was the problem with Star Wars Rebels. Yes, Clone Wars was dark. Yes, I do agree with that. But yet, it makes sense because that just makes sense. Star Wars Rebels, you don't even see, it looks like they looks like they're dead, but yet it shows no marks of that. What is that? What is that? What is that? I'm sorry, but if someone gets killed, they should have a mark of them being shot or stabbed by a lightsaber. I'm sorry, but that's what Clone Wars was, and they did pull it off really good. The animation's good, and it made Anakin a lot better. I do have to agree with that, and it was fun and interesting, and they really did a good job. And basically, it kind of shows the Clone Wars. Episode 2 is the beginning of the Clone Wars, and Clone Wars explains from pretty much the entire middle part. You got Episode 2 is the beginning. You got the Clone Wars, and then Episode 3 is the end. End to it. And but in the last season, we have one clone trooper gets their chip and their brain malfunctions, and they killed a Jedi. They took them back to Kamino. So so the chip goes wrong, and then Fives wanted to check to see if that chip was in his brain, so they took it out. Yes, the chip was in there, and so he figured out that every clone trooper has that chip, and that chip is what gives them the orders of Order 66, and then kill the Jedi, and that is the understandable point of why the clone troopers betrayed them, and then they send Fives to Chancellor Palpatine. So basically, Chancellor Palpatine and Fives are alone in the room, and then Chancellor Palpatine shows that he was a Sith and was going to kill him, but they were able to. But then the other guys came in. The Jedi Son says that Chancellor Palpatine lies if Fives tried to attack him, and only if they believe. And then eventually it gets to the point where someone kills Fives. But if they only believe what Fives was saying, that Chancellor Palpatine is if Chancellor Palpatine is the Sith, and that the chips in their brain is going to eventually kill all the Jedi, then the entire thing would be aborted. But yet, they didn't, and, Order 66 happened. But, now, Episode 3. I forgot the clones. They bring back Darth Maul, who died in the first one. But he didn't really die, and the whole reason why he survived is because his hatred made him survive, and really, lightsaber, I don't know if you guys knew how lightsaber works, but when it stabs you, it actually melts the rounding of the wound together, and so in that way, kind of could possibly save your life, in depending on what is stabbed. So, but yeah, is one. That is the part of Star. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, and so I'm just Clone Wars was awesome, and that is the point. Now, Episode 3, and that truly shows the downfall of Anakin, and pretty much Anakin, slices Mace Windu's hands off. Emperor Palpatine, or Chancellor Palpatine, throws him out the window with Force lightning. Anakin becomes part of the dark side, and that point is because he didn't exactly want to be part of the dark side. He just wanted to learn how to save Padme, and he was guilty. He had guilt of killing Mace Windu. He even said to himself, "Why did I do that?" You could totally tell that he had that light side in him, that he didn't want to be doing what he was doing. You can even tell when he was killing the Jedi and the Jedi children, he was crying because he did not want to do this, yet he was doing it because he felt. That's the thing, is that he didn't want to be doing what he's doing, but it was already too late, and he was going deeper and deeper down the dark side. That was the problem. And eventually, he accidentally chokes Padme. Padme isn't dead, but she just loses the will to live. She didn't want to live in the same world as Anakin joined the dark side. That basically is definitely the exact reason why she lost the will to live. But there's a lot of theories why she dies. But eventually leads to a duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. And they eventually have to so eventually it leads to a duel between them on the lava planet called Mustafar. Also, it's the place where Anakin choked Padme. And eventually, it leads to Obi-Wan Kenobi getting the high ground. The Star Wars meme. And then Anakin foolishly tries to jump over and slice Obi-Wan Kenobi in half. Basically what Obi-Wan Kenobi did to Darth Maul, yet the problem is that there's a theory that Obi-Wan Kenobi can only do that because he is the high ground. But other than that, Anakin fails, and Obi-Wan Kenobi cuts off his legs, and then he falls to near the lava. Near it, not exactly into it. And then the lava kind of caught up to him, put him on fire, and he basically. Then Obi-Wan Kenobi says some lines, takes his lightsaber, and leaves while Anakin slowly melts away or burns away, as you say. And then Emperor Palpatine finds him and puts the suit on him, and becomes officially Darth Vader. That's pretty much, and that's why it becomes, Star Wars 3 by far is like the best prequel movie you can ask anyone. Especially that last duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi was so awesome. I loved that battle so much. It doesn't get any better than a duel like that. Star Wars Rebels. I like it. In fact, I got really close to the characters. I seen all the seasons 1 through 4. I didn't have a problem with it. And at the end, Disney let up and started letting them actually, do some crazy stuff. But in the beginning, it was not made for the kids. And, that's what hindered it. Especially between the last duel between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And that duel would have been so more awesome if, if they actually showed the lightsaber mark up Darth Maul's face. Literally, after I finished the episode, I'm like, what? Did he die? I mean, what? I mean, I literally had to look up a video to understand what just happened because it was that bad. I mean, they said, Obi-Wan Kenobi cut his face. That's why he died. He cut his lightsaber in two again. But it'd been so much better if they actually show his face being cut. It would have made that scene way more not confusing. Way more not confusing. Because it was so confusing. I'm like, why? Yes, it was nostalgic. Yes, it was so awesome that Darth Maul actually dies to Obi-Wan Kenobi. But yet, it gets... And that is one problem. But the ending is awesome. I was sad to see Kanan die. I was upset. I was kind of sad. But at least he was the only character on the team that actually dies. Everyone else lives. The epic end, Thrawn and Ezra, they get launched into space somewhere, and it was so awesome. And the characters themselves. So Ezra was basically a orphan on the planet of Lothal. That's what Star Wars Rebel is. Basically, the Star Wars, a group of rebels on Lothal trying to save it from the Empire. And so basically, eventually Ezra finds these rebels, and then he trains under Kanan, who turns out to be a Jedi, because at the time he was really just a Padawan, because he during Order 66 his master was killed, and his master told him to run, so he ran. So he never really took the Jedi trials, so he never became a Jedi Knight. But eventually he kept training Ezra and became a Jedi Knight. And then Darth Maul blinds him. So, yeah. But you got Chopper, annoying droid. You got Hera, the leader, who's in love with Kanan, and eventually they have a kid, even though I don't see how that's possible, because he dies. I mean, I don't even know how that happened. Like, she was not, I don't even know. I'm not going to even go there, because she didn't, it looks like she didn't, I don't even know how that happened, because it doesn't even make any sense, but it is, especially, their son is completely human, which doesn't make any sense, because in the Clone Wars we've seen a breed of a human and a Twi'lek together children, so I don't see why Hera's son is not a mix of Twi'lek and human. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense, but it's just pure human. I don't even know how that happened, but okay. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But that's really the end. And that's basically, you got Sabine, a Mandalorian. The Mandalorians at this time are helping the Empire. And so Sabine joined the Empire and built weapons. And they are very... built weapons that do a lot of damage, and then she felt ashamed of it and joined the Rebels, or eventually joined the Rebels, or I mean betrayed the Empire and then eventually joined the Rebels. And then you got Zeb, whose species and were wiped out by the Empire, but eventually find out they weren't, and they have another planet full of his species, but that's really not the point of the story. eventually they have to leave and eventually Luthor, but they'll go back and then they save Luthor, and that's really about what the fourth season was about, saving Luthor. Ahsoka returns from Clone Wars. That was interesting, but yeah, those story characters are basically Luthor, and they came back to Luthor and saved Luthor, and that's their story. Then you got Rogue. Okay, so I got the first season of Star Wars Rebels. I don't have any other seasons of Star Wars Rebels, and I don't have any seasons or anything of the Clone Wars, which I wish I would have. I got Rogue One, which we'll be talking about now. So Rogue One is about a group of people who try to find the plans to the Death Star. And that's basically the story, finding the plans to the Death Star. And you got Jyn Erso. Yeah, so Jyn Erso, you got her. Her father helped build the Death Star, and it was her father who put the weakness into the Death Star about that little shaft thing. Even though I don't think it really need to be explained, it makes kind of sense. It makes a lot of sense, but oh well, they did that, and she was captured eventually by the Empire, but then the rebels saved her because they wanted her to get to her father, because her father helped build the Death Star. But the real reason why he helped build the Death Star, because he knew they would have someone else build it for him, instead of him, and so he did this as a front to put a weakness in the Death Star, that little shaft that they launched, if a blast into it will blow up the entire Death Star, even though I don't really think they need to explain that. And really, this entire movie, like it says, getting the plans to the Death Star, but really what makes it so special is that it explains pretty much what it talked about in the opening credits of the Star Wars The New Hope. So that's really what makes this movie special. It's actually pretty much just a money grab, but now let's get back to the characters here. You got Cassian Andor. He is the leader of the group. He has his sidekick, K-Tuso, which is just for comedic purposes. Chirrut Îmwe is the blind believer dude of the Force. He is not very he's not Force sensitive, but he believes in the Force, and he can fight. Like, even though he can't see, he can really fight. He uses his ears to sense the people in front of him, like stormtroopers and stuff. Then you got his sidekick, Maze Malbus, who's really a shooter. He has this big gun. And then you got a rogue pilot named, I think, Bodhi. I think that's right. I could be wrong. And those are the characters. Now, what I mean by rogue pilot is he was a pilot for the Empire, but Galen Erso, Jyn's father, told him that you can make your decision, help the Empire do bad things, or deflect and join the good side. And the pilot did that. He gave the message from Galen Erso to Saw Gerrera, who was a extremist who originally worked for the rebels, but he felt that the rebels were too light and won't get their hands dirty, so he left them and created his own group. And during Rogue One, his group stayed in Jeddah, and he dies there when the Death Star tested the weapon by destroying the city of Jeddah, the city of Jeddah. Now, there's a difference between the first test of the weapon on Jeddah and in the New Hope, because it said in the New Hope it'll be its first test, but what it actually meant was it's its first test for blowing up a planet. See, in Rogue One, it didn't blow up a planet, it just destroyed the city on the planet. The after effect of destroying the city destroyed Saw Gerrera's place of where his group was staying, and that's where Jyn Erso and the group went to get, and she saw the message, but the message was destroyed with Saw Gerrera, so unfortunately they didn't believe her, and her father ends up dead. But that's after they go find him on Eadu, and their ship was actually I don't think it was hit, but it got damaged because of the weather and the mountain range on the Eadu. And so that basically the rebel headquarters thought they were done for, and therefore sent a attack run of X-wings, and Cassian Andor wasn't able to, and K2SO and all of them weren't able to notify them in time to stop, and it ended up killing Jin's father. But oh well, that's pretty much what happens, and then this leads to them getting a ship from the place and going back to the rebel base, and with that, then Jyn tries to do a speech to get all the rebel groups to help get the plans for the Death Star, and unfortunately it does not doesn't work. The rebels were giving up, and so Jyn Erso and the group and some other rebel fighters decided, we have done a lot of bad things in the name of the rebels, and we're not going to give up. We're not going to allow those things go in vain. And so they took that ship that they stole from the Empire. They made a secret code called Rogue One, and it says that you're not authorized. That's not right. And then they left. So that's where the Rogue One comes from. And then they go to the planet. They got through the shields on the planet of Scarif, because that's where they are. And eventually rebels came to help them out, but they eventually all died, but they were able to get the planet. They were able to get the plans to the rebels, and that's when Darth Vader showed up, and the Death Star blew up Scarif, killing Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor, because everyone else died by being killed by the stormtroopers and stuff, and basically, pretty much stormtroopers and all that. They were killed one by one. Chirrut Îmwe got killed because he believed in the Force to turn on the switch in order to shut down, in order to get a message out to the in order to get a message out to the rebels that they're there, and that they're going to submit a plans to the Death Star, and basically he gets, after putting the switch on, he left and got shot. Then Malbus ran to him, and that's when Malbus started believing in the Force, because he didn't really believe in him. And so then he went on a shooting run, killing Death Troopers, but then eventually the last Death Trooper had a bomb and landed right near him, and then that's what killed him. Then a Stormtrooper flew a bomb into that ship that they stole from the Empire, where Bodhi was in, and he was, the ship exploded and he died. K-2SO was shot closing the door so that the people wouldn't get in to stop Cassian Andor. And Jyn Erso got the plans. He walked up, and then she got the plans transmitted up there, where and then got Krennic, the villain of the story. They had the two talking scenes, but then Cassian Andor, he knocked Cassian Andor down, but Cassian Andor got back and was able to shoot Krennic, and then Cassian Andor, he was hurt, and so they walked to the beach. The Death Star blasted the tower, killing Krennic, and then the blast hit the water, making a huge explosion, and then the after effect hit Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor, killing them. And then Tarkin, who Krennic was originally helped make the Death Star. He was in charge of that, but then Tarkin took it over, and they had to recreate him using CGI, because the actor who played Tarkin in The New Hope, Peter Cushing, passed away, and when Rogue One, he passed away like 20 years from that time ago, but I don't know, now I think it's 21, I'm not sure, but yeah, so they had to recreate him using CGI and having an actor that looks almost like him, but you could still tell there was flaws to it, but they actually did a pretty good job with that. So then eventually Darth Vader's ship came in, started blasting the ship with the plans on, then he gets on him. It leads to a cool scene where Darth Vader starts killing rebels, but they were able to transmit the plans to the ship where Leia was on in the New Hope. So basically the ending of Rogue One leads right into the New Hope, and we get to see Leia at the end young Leia recreated by CGI, and you could definitely tell there's a flaw there in her face, pretty much. And it was even Carrie Fisher. It was another actor. They just CGI Leia over there. But see, like, they've gotten pretty far in the CGI industry, but it's not perfected yet to make human recreations. So, but eventually they're gonna get perfect at that. Well, not perfect. You can't get perfect at anything, but they'll get better to the point where they can pull it off to make it look almost real. So, yeah, that pretty much ends the story of Rogue One. So let's move on. So we got Force Awakens. Oh man, that was the first time I've seen a Star Wars movie in the theaters, and I'm actually really glad. That one of my dreams was to see a Star Wars movie in the theaters, and Disney completed that dream. And then I think it was also my first Star Wars movie that I owned. I bought this, then I bought the other ones. So here's Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Then I got here. Okay, so here's Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3. What actually helped buying all this is I don't know. I think I was getting flowers for my Bob. It was Mother's Day. And so my aunt took me to the store, And then after we're leaving, she says, "Oh, here's $20." And so that $20 helped me buy the Star Wars movies. So, yeah, they helped me buy these Star Wars movies. And then I got the first season because the library was given away. And that's pretty much it. I have yet to own The Last Jedi yet, but I will eventually buy it. But The Force Awakens, yes, I know that it kind of is like The New Hope. I mean, it is The New Hope with different characters, but when I first saw it, I had no idea. I actually watched YouTube and they said that, but yeah, they said that. I mean, I never noticed it, and I really don't pay attention to that stuff. I just pay attention to the story and the characters, which I like. See, I never pay attention to the errors or anything like that because I don't care about that. If a movie has Star Wars as the title, and is Star Wars, then I'll like it. I don't care if a TV show or a movie is about a topic I like. I automatically like it, no matter what it is, even if I haven't even seen the movie yet. Star Killer Base is really Death Star 3 planet version, and Kylo Ren is kind of a whiner, just like Anakin was, but I don't know. And then Rey is a whatever you people call it, that nothing bad could happen to them. Even though I very much disagree with that, because a lot of bad things happen to her. Yes, she makes it out of it, but she's not a Mary Sue. I mean, okay, she gets caught by Kylo Ren. Are you saying that that's not a bad thing? I'm pretty sure that's a bad thing. Okay, I think there's a lot of bad things that happen to Rey, and I don't. Yeah, she might make it out of them, but yet doesn't mean it's not a bad thing that happens to her. I mean, I don't. That doesn't make any sense. That's one thing people are like talking about. They don't even get it, but maybe I don't even get it because I really don't know much about Mary Sue. But but I'm just saying, like, to what I've heard is that Mary Sue is nothing bad can happen to the character. Yet, what is your definition of bad? Because I'm pretty sure being captured by Kylo Ren is a bad thing, or I mean, there's bad things that happen to Rey. Like, I don't really think she's. I mean, yeah, like, there's not a lot of it, but yet, some bad things did happen to her. So, I mean, I don't really necessarily agree with, but whatever. Harrison Ford, not Harrison Ford, Han Solo dies, sad. It was sad to see him die. Which I really didn't, I wish they didn't kill him, but that's what Harrison Ford wanted. At least he was killed by his son. I guess that's something. Or is that really bad? I don't even know, but whatever. But yeah, The Force Awakens, maybe it's kind of like The New Hope, but it's still a story, and I really liked it, and it was kind of awesome. It was really awesome. And then you got, then you got The Last Jedi. This is when the ranting gets into this. A lot of people hate The Last Jedi, and I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of people complaining about this and that and this and that and that and that. This. They're all wrong. And they don't even understand the movie in itself. I'm just saying. First of all, one of their complaints is about, Bob's dropping from a spaceship in space is not possible because it's space is not accurate. It's not possible. It's not. Who cares? Who cares? Why should you care about bombs not, in space so can't drop from a ship? Why do you care? If the scene looks cool, why care about that stuff? I mean, there's a whole lot of other things in Star Wars that literally doesn't make any sense and no one complains about that. Okay? Who comes to a movie and says, that's not logical, that's not possible, this movie is bad? I'm sorry. But you should never go to a movie and point that out. I mean, if you're just gonna do that, just hate every movie, why don't you? I mean, like, seriously. Why don't you? Yeah, literally. Hate every movie and go lock yourself in a room and sit there and be bored all day. You do that, okay? I'm sick and tired of people going to a movie and then always thinking, oh, that's bad, the movie's horrible. That's bad, that movie's horrible. Cool. Why do that? Why set yourself up to look at the bad things of a movie? If you're going to do that, you're never going to like a movie. Okay? Because you cannot make a movie 100% perfect. We are human beings. That is not possible. I'm sorry. You can never make a movie 100% perfect. There's always going to be an error in every movie in existence. You just cannot go in and say that flaw is bad, so the movie's bad. Okay? You just can't do that. You cannot do that. You can't do that. Okay? I don't... yeah, maybe a book can explain. Maybe one line can explain that. But I really don't care. I really don't care. Why should you care? Why should you care about bombs not dropping out of a spaceship into space is incorrect? Like, I mean, seriously. Okay? Go run a lap. Okay? Go run a lap. Okay? And think about your life. Alright. Alright. So, from that standpoint, I don't like how they betrayed Luke, okay? I hate that fact. That's kind of the worst part of the movie, and then they killed him. That's the second worst part of the movie. But I think what's cool about it is the story, because yes, it's something new, but that's the problem with people, is that they cannot understand something new. When something is new, they have to hate it. That's the problem with the prequels. The prequels was something different than the originals, and then people started hating on it. Okay? The Last Jedi and the prequels felt like Star Wars. They did. But yet, their story is new, and so so basically, since the story's new, people can't see the fact that it feels like Star Wars. To me, it feels like Star Wars, and I give credit to the director that he pulled it off really good. And another flaw is they're saying, they're saying that the females took over the story and made it bad. No, they didn't. I don't care what you say. No, they didn't. Okay? Go run a lap and think about your life. Alright? I don't care. The story was good. Alright. The way they killed Snoke was awesome. Yeah, I was like, he's all that powerful, he died. I understand it. I get it. And I loved how they did it. Yeah, it kind of confused me. Like, it didn't feel right, but I've grown to like it. And I mean, I thought this scene was cool. But I was like I said, it was kind of hard to understand. It felt weird, but it was cool. That's what I want to say about the scene. Kylo Ren killing Snoke. But Kylo Ren was much better in this movie than The Force Awakens. And at the end, Luke was amazing. Okay, and that last scene was cool, even though I wish they actually dueled, but it was good. Holdo taking the ship and blasting all the ships. Okay, blasting all those ships. People are saying, "Oh, you could put a droid into that, and so you don't have to do that. Sacrifice yourself to do that." But people, you don't understand how heroes work. Heroes don't do what they do just because they need to. They do it because they want to. A hero a person who saves others because they need to is no hero. Okay? That is not a hero. A hero is someone who wants to put their life for others. That's what a hero is. That's what Holdo did. She didn't sacrifice herself because she needed to do it. She did because she wanted to do that. Okay? She wanted to do that. So stop saying, "Oh, she didn't need to do that. She could just put a droid to do that." No. She could have. But she did because she wanted to do that. And that's what makes her a hero. That's what makes her a hero to Star Wars. Alright? So you guys who are saying, "Oh, you don't have to do that," go relax and think about your life. Okay? Go think about your life. Alright? Alright, now I did put this a little bit out of order, but there is a time where Kylo Ren was about to attack the Raddus, which is the ship that everyone was on, the big one with Leia was on, and that's the same ship that Holdo used in Lightspeed to destroy all the ships. And there's one scene where Kylo Ren, he's there, but he didn't fire at the ship. So, but two other TIE fighters did, destroying the the command area, whatever you want to call that, command area where, and so I think the bridge. A lot of people call the bridge. I think that's the bridge. Is what it's called, and they blast it where pretty much everyone in the bridge dies, well, except for Leia. So Admiral Akbar dies, which is really frustrating because, he has that meme where it's a trap, his famous line from The Empire Strikes Back. But Leia survives and then uses the Force to get back to the ship, and a lot of people say that's cheesy, and they don't like it, and it is a little cheesy, but I thought it was pretty cool, and it also kind of makes sense, because I don't know if you guys know this, but there is a Force power where people who use the Force can use the Force to stop their ability to need oxygen to survive, so that they can live longer without oxygen. So it's very much possible that Leia learned that ability and she used that, and then she just used the Force to pull her to the ship. I mean, yes, if she was in space, she'll keep flying back, but I mean, really, this is Star Wars, and a lot of times space doesn't usually get that right. Sometimes they do, but I don't think that's really the important part. And really, since it's a movie, it doesn't. I still feel like that really doesn't matter. I mean, I get like some people might find that annoying that they're not following the Star Wars rules or the space rules. I mean, but I don't really honestly care about that. And I thought it was cool. I thought it was really interesting. I mean, yeah, it was a little cheesy, but I thought it was interesting. So, yeah. Alright, so the entire cantina scene where Finn and Rose go find the Master Codebreaker, I think that's right, played by, well, originally was someone else who they were looking for, but then they found another guy, played by, Benicio Toro, and, essentially his character kind of, turns out to be a backstabber, and kind of ruins that entire part, but I thought it was pretty much the whole cantina scene was cool, and, a lot of people hate it. They also hate Rose as a character. I thought she was cool, and I think that it wasn't a problem. I thought the cantina scene was interesting. Plus, if they didn't have it, it really kind of makes the entire end scene wouldn't make any sense because we wouldn't know where it was coming from. But that's besides the point. Eventually, they get back to the ship. The whole point is they need the Master Codebreaker to get onto the Supremacy, which is Snoke's ship. But then eventually he betrays them. Captain Plasma captures them, and then it leads to a whole duel between Finn and Captain Plasma, where Captain Plasma falls to her doom. I don't like the fact that they killed Plasma either. At least we don't know because we never saw the body. But, she fell into a fiery inferno, but, there's always a possibility. Like in every movie, there's always a case where somebody can live. Except for if you see the body, then you're most likely dead. Especially, so that applies to Han Solo. Han Solo is dead. There's no way he could return. Alright. He was stabbed, and you could tell that he fell off, and there's no way he survived that. I'm sorry. But, of course, if someone could, be in a spaceship that has a nuclear bomb on it, and then whatever, and goes into a black hole, can survive and come back in another film, then anything's really possible. But whatever. Okay, whatever that situation. So, from that point on, I think The Last Jedi deserves more credit than people are giving it. It wasn't a bad movie, yeah, and there might be certain flaws to it, but you guys over-exaggerate it. You guys put up flaws that aren't exactly flaws at all. I'm just sorry, but you guys are dumb. Alright, not all of you. The people that actually understand The Last Jedi and like it are people I can relate to. But people who are just pointing out the flaws and not understanding the movie are the ones that are dumb. Alright? Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please turn my next video. Thank you. Goodbye.